Hey everyone, it's Will, Gamer Dad, with another video for you. So in today's video, we're going to go over Kid as a 5-star, and I'll do a little bit of gameplay and let you know what I think about her. But the most important question of all is
she hot or not?
Is there a fire in here? Cause you're the hottest thing I've ever seen.
That's not the first time I've heard you say that line to another woman.
Honestly, I was really talking about her fire element. Anyways, Kid as a 5-star is the second collab unit I'm reviewing, the first one being Surge. Her value enchant is actually not bad at all. Physical up 40% resistance and wind type resistance 40% for 2 turns with her true VC Grasta. Note that she also starts off every battle with 2 power stacks, and she can get a total of 10. At max stacks, her moves do a lot more damage and abilities. So first off, Fortune is the only move of her special moves that stacks 3 stacks. Also gives crit rate of all party members for 100%, 1 move, up to 3 moves if you get all 10 stacks. Note that since she only starts with 2 stacks, you'll need to do Fortune 3 times to get full max stacks, or if you prefer, do a single target hit with her regular katana swing for 2 stacks instead. Red Noodle is a very great offensive supporting move. Not only does it hit 3 to 5 times large, it also applies fire type resist down 30%, fire type attacks for your team plus 30%. And it increases depending on up to 10 stacks to a maximum of 80% down and up. So if you already have Nokoko, you'll know how powerful that cat wisdom move is. Her heat shot is another very powerful one-shot kill. Single slash on XL and physical resistance down 30 at 10 stacks. You can get large multiplier plus 80% physical resist down, which is extremely high, the highest I've seen in global for any unit. So really useful in helping her deal more damage and all your physical members of your team as well. Now, Zed Seal has 2 functions. Not only does it steal a random item once per battle, it can also debuff the enemy while buffing your team as well. So it starts off with 20 of power, int, and speed for the negative, and of course yours is plus 20. And depending on number of max stacks, you can get up to 50% down for everything for the enemies and plus 50% to you. Very powerful. Now, note that, again, the fact that you do have to use Fortune a few times to really stack up those 10 stacks does make her a little bit slow to build up, but on longer fights will do an immense amount of support and damage. So you can see her 5-star board here. We're just going to scroll up. Now, just like the other collab units, they don't have any other personalities to use. And just like Surge and Harley, you'll be able to equip elements to customize your moveset and other things as well. I'm not going to get into that too much in this video, only because we're going to cover her main moves for the most part. So you can see the Grasta, pretty standard stuff. Pain, bullseye, MP consumption, so on and so forth. There's a lot of those enhancements, and you can also, of course, tailor it to what you would like as well. So let's take her out for a spin. If you haven't already, make sure you like and subscribe to my channel. I really appreciate it. I also do have a Patreon account for those who want to support me this way. So, unlike Surge, who has a lot more utility and versatility with customizing his elements, she's basically mainly a fire type unit, and she can do tremendous amounts of damage given the right setup. Her regular moves can do enough to clear most mobs, and don't forget that she can actually steal. Her natural speed is pretty high at level 80, and if you really want to, you can use Falcon's Blessing Grasta, which is found in Underworld after Chapter 84 dungeons. So, note that you can do stacking with regular hits, and you can see that it stacks up 2, and eventually, if you can do it enough times, you can get up to 10. However, the more efficient way is to use Fortune to get 3 at a time. Not only that, it also does give crit guarantee to your whole team, so it's not a totally useless move. However, a lot of other units can do crit setting too, so you might not use it for crit setting per se. Now, if you're wondering about how you set up against a boss, note that if you keep on trying to get max stacks with 3 Fortunes, you're going to run out of time. She, as a solo unit, cannot handle it on her own. by the time she gets 3 stacks and she's left undefended, you're probably not going to be able to clear even a moderate horror. So I wouldn't recommend stacking up 3 stacks if she's solo. Now on a team, she could probably find a way to do that, and I'll show you that later on in this video. As a solo, I would recommend just 1 stack of Fortune, and then honestly you can use Red Needle, which boosts your fire type attacks and debuffs the fire resistance on the enemy, and then finally finish off with Heat Shot, which is your highest damaging multiplier move. Keep in mind, in conjunction, you can also get all of those debuffs and buffs together since they're all different. So just an example, this is what you can actually steal on a good run. A Gold Lump, Jadeite, you can also get things like Murmurs and Prayers. You cannot steal Chant Scripts, so that's already been confirmed, unfortunately. Now in our first example against boss fights, we'll use her in her own element, which is a Fire Zone. And this is with the True Spirits, which is obviously the Tales of collab, one of the super bosses back in the day. So we are using Fortune to stack up to 10 stacks, and we have that already. And we can use Red Needle right away to enhance our team and debuff the enemy's fire resistance so that we can have maximum damage for our team. Keep in mind that, remember that at max 10 stacks, you are getting the maximum benefits of that. And at this point, remember that the stacks also don't disappear, and you can spam without volition against the enemies as long as you're able to either survive, either through other units supporting you and debuffing the enemy, or just you're out damaging the enemy. So in this case, you can see that she can land quite a bit of damage. She's also playing on an entire fire / katana team. Obviously, Aya Sakia does a lot of the heavy lifting. The Enki full slash attack really does a lot of damage, and not only that, her Princess of Divinity at max of her own 3 stacks can give katana users up to 60% damage and increase their speed by a lot as well. You can definitely check out the 5-star review of Aya Sakia, which I'll link below in the description if you need to find out a little bit more about her. Now that being said, even though I would say that in this case she's not the #1 damage dealer, obviously Aya Sakia can do quite a bit of damage, especially given she can also share Grasta. There's a Grasta holder in the back that gives her a lot more damage through the Eastern personality and other things, whereas obviously Radical Dreamer really is just a Radical Dreamer, only has the Katana Fire boost. Still, that being said, she can still do very respectable damage with Heat Shot, over 10 million a shot, given enough buffs and debuffs. And don't forget, even if you're not using her primarily as DPS, which she is a fairly solid DPS unit, you got all those debuffs, the physical resistance down 80% at max stacks. You got the fire resistance down, fire damage up at max stacks. And obviously you can even use Fortune to set crit rate 100% for your entire team, which, especially if you're relatively new to the game or even halfway through the game and don't have all the newest gacha units, crit setting to 100% allows you to do guaranteed double damage with crit, not to mention any other abilities your units might have. So definitely crit setting to 100% is a must-have, especially in the later stages of the game. I guess I take it for granted that most of my units and teams can probably set crit on their own. However, you can never forget that, you know, as a free unit, Kid can do that without any issues at all. Melissa's just sitting there in the back, so don't worry about her. Now, in our second and final example, we're going to take her against a wind type unit. So remember that her VC, when she VC is, gives you physical resistance plus 40 and wind resistance plus 40. And so depending on how you're fighting super bosses, you might actually need that VC. And keep in mind, with her true VC Grasta, it is 2 turns. Now, not only that, you can still steal Jada Lives and other cool trinkets from bosses as well as horrors. Now, one downside, what we're trying to demonstrate here is actually more of a defensive nature support unit kit and not pure DPS. And so what we're really using is, instead of using her Red Needle, which obviously gives fire type up, fire resistance down, we're going to use Zed Steel. So first of all, we're building Fortune alternating with casting Zed Steel. Remember, at max stacks, which is 10, you can get up to 50% speed, power, and int down on the enemy, and up to 50% up for your team, those same 3 attributes. Now, the don't forget that Zed Steel's debuffs and buffs only last for 1 turn. So if you want it, you'll have to do it alternate turns with your DPS move, which is most likely going to be Heat Shot, since again, you're benefiting from 80% physical resist down, like I said, other units just can't do. Even AS Sukiya can only use 50% down physical resistance with her Howling Surge. Alright, so if you look at the numbers, pretty respectable damage from all parties involved. And like I said, as a support unit, if you're using her in that role, you can, the debuffs are actually very significant. Even with only her 2 starting stacks, each stack, I believe, gives 3% extra debuff and buff to your team. So for example, starting at level 80 with 2 power stacks, it'll be 26% int power and speed down for the enemy, and 26% speed, power, and int boost for your team. So she definitely plays very well with fire-based teams, either physical, especially physical teams. Although in this case, we're using normal style Rosetta as our kind of a fire healer, because obviously our frontline units don't heal, and so on and so forth. Also, just keep a close eye on the boss. This super boss obviously does a lot of random moves, and that one you just saw removed all the buffs and debuffs from itself. And so you really have to reapply those debuffs if you need to, and don't forget to do that. Remember that at later stages in the game, especially longer fights, those 10 stacks stay in play, and so you're essentially getting a 50% debuff on power and int, which essentially means you're probably not going to take much, if any, damage at all. Very, very useful, especially against tough fights. But I always say the same thing with these kind of bosses and units. The fact that you do have to build up to 10 power stacks is a slight disadvantage. But then again, you can't have a unit frontline first move minus 50-50 for the enemy. I mean, that's just ridiculous as well. Alright, so note that, like I said, even with just Zed Steel and not using Red Neil, we're still doing like quite a bit of damage with Kid. It's a one-shot, heat shot. It does 16 mil. Not even bad at all. And note that in comparison to even AS Akane with decent amount of Grasa, she out-damaged it. Those 3 hits with AS Akane, I think was only like 8 million, and then heat shot did 16. So very, very useful. And of course, you can play around with it. You can actually bring even more of her out of it if you use her as the center focus, using the likes of obviously Pizzuka, Melissa, so on and so forth. But of course, this video is just really to demonstrate the basics of all her moves and her kind of her full abilities. I really do say I do like her moveset a lot. I find that you can definitely tailor and go pure offense, partial support, all support, or don't forget that you can even customize with the elements and give her additional fire-based or other type moves if you so choose. And again, Shigeri is just there to hold Grasta for the rest of our team, Eastern, Katana Max HP, and Inferno. So, in conclusion, Kid plays very well with my style. You can go defensive when needed, you can go pure offense when needed, you can mix it up. Like I said, the only downside is that you do have to build up her stacks, but hey, that's the price you pay for having quite a powerful free unit on your team. Not only that, Fire Slash is very good with synergies as well. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.